Oh, welcome everybody to another episode of the Rugby Scoop podcast. Jade is busy by Giteau, down there in Bloemfontein. Vickers, late night snacks, glass of wine before you go to bed. Hugh Griffin, overcast, gloomy or sunny in the UK. Guys, this is the Rugby Scoop. I'm joined by none other, by the three, actually, but four, including myself. But the three gentlemen, Hugh Griffin, Vuyozanga, and Jade Craig. Griff, you're the first one on my screen. How are things over there on your side? How was the weekend? And how's the Sunday so far going?
It's crazy times, Scoop. I don't know if everybody's been catching up, but my team, the Scarlets, have had investment into them from some interesting people who we're learning all about, and it's causing a lot of excitement in good ways and bad over here. So navigating that.
All right, fair enough. Vickers, how are things? How's the weekend been? Too much rugby or not enough rugby over this weekend?
Yeah, how's it, bro? Too much rugby.
As always.
Look, I've been working with the girls and my men's team, so pretty much naked. I was trying to get out of it, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to need to stick it out for the fellas since I missed last week. Yeah, so won my first tournament this weekend, and the girls came third. So yeah, pretty chilled, nothing much.
Yeah, pretty chilled, nothing much, says a winning coach. Jade, Daya, Clippies, what's happening over there?
No, nothing much happening, bro. We're fine this side. I mean, the Cheetahs had a good entertaining win yesterday against the Sharks. So,
jeez, don't tell me about that. What a mess, man. 7-5, eh? 7-5. No.
Proper rugby, man.
Proper tennis, the paddle game.
Jeepers. I mean, what is with the Sharks, guys, in these low-scoring games? Remember the Reds in Kings Park or
Scoop,
at the Shark Tank?
Scoop, it's
crazy, man.
They took the game to the people, but they didn't take the score to the people.
Exactly. Right? They were supposed to be entertaining. But nonetheless, guys, great to hear that everyone is in good spirits. We're not going to waste any time jumping into news, making headlines, and then we're going to talk about the Wallabies squad for the Rugby Championship, the Allblacks squad in the Rugby Championship, and touch on about Currie Cup as well, and some NPC results. Don't forget, next week, Rugby Championship is kicking off. Excitement ahead of us. Rugby Australia has confirmed that the Giteau law is effectively redundant. Griffin, how big is this for Australian rugby going forward?
Well, obviously, the big impact is it now means that Australian stars can move abroad and not fear of losing their Wallabies caps. I think people, when we talk about losing caps, what people don't think of, people think it's all just about the pride of the jersey and the desire to represent your country. I think people don't realise that some rugby players, depending on what deal you're on, can effectively double your salary through international caps, through match day appearances, depending on which team you play for. And also things like image rights go into it. And then, of course, if you perform well on the international stage, you can command a higher wage at club level. So that it's a financial decision as well. But now they can go abroad. So the obvious impact is that some players will go abroad. When will that happen? In the Rugby Australia, it wasn't even a statement. It was kind of slid into an interview that the guy was doing. Like, oh, by the way, we're not doing that anymore. But he then went on to say that there are 38 players that they've locked down for the foreseeable in Australia. So we'll see who that is. I think we can all make guesses of who that is. But obviously the impact is that Australian stars will go abroad. The question is how many?
Because you mentioned something about the impact this could have in terms of Super Rugby, with Australia now possibly, or some players possibly leaving the competition or leaving Australia to go to Japan or France or go to the UK as well. I mean, do you think this will have a major impact in the long run for Super Rugby, or what are your thoughts?
Look, in terms of what you discussed, I think it might not be now, might not be immediate. But the question is, because of the fact that obviously the players can be offered more money overseas than Australia, that means that the four franchise teams in Australia will lose some quality players. And once they lose those quality players, then that means that the union will have to blood in new players. And the question now is, what quality will those new players bring? So for me, it was just a matter of the conversation in terms of what we had. It's just a matter of, I'm worried now, how good will Super Rugby be, especially that New Zealand is still got that overseas law for them. They still maintaining that their players must be in the country. And then Australia will obviously have players outside the country. So what impact will that have on Super Rugby? So I think for me, that the question was just a matter of, are the top players now going to leave Australia and go play overseas because they can get those contracts? Like you said, I mean, it's massive deals that will be going down. So that's why I raised the questions that how good then would Super Rugby be if the top players move overseas?
Fair enough. Jade, any concerns from your side regarding this law?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there in terms of his concerns, but in terms of being realistic, I mean, the Australian players have always been leaving. I mean, you just had this season, you had Noah Leosio, you had, what's this guy's name, Tom Hooper, leaving, going to play abroad, a few other guys going to play in Japan or wherever. So, I mean, they can't, even some Tangala Tupou's gone, he's gone abroad as well. So you can't do so, even though they had the Giteau law, the players have still been leaving, I mean, you've been seeing guys leave rugby union, like Mark Noentowasi, what's the guy's name? Carter Gordon left. I mean, there's also talk now that the beekeeper, what is it, Darby Lancaster, this talk is also leaving and going to rugby league. So Australia, I think they're looking at it like this. They need to get the Wallabies stronger, yes. And number two is, yes, you want to keep your best players there. So they went with the 38 that Centric contracted, which is okay. But now the big concern is you don't want to lose these players to league as well. That's the big concern. So I think for them at the moment, it's okay. You can go and play in Japan, where they're going to, or in France, where they're going to match what you're going to get at, the Sydney Roosters or wherever. However, you're still eligible to play for the Wallabies instead of losing these players completely. I think that's the big concern at the moment, losing these players completely. I mean, you can't just sign Suwa Lee and then you're losing, three other players to leave. Imagine if they keep the hold of, Mark Noentowasi and, Carter Gordon as well.
Gordon.
How good, what a good buzz it would be there. So I think that's the big issue at the moment, is the competition against the league at the moment and how to combat this. Ideally it's not good for Super Rugby. We'll have to see, what happens. We have to see. But also the positive thing is, a lot of Australians like to come back to Australia. They like the country. So you might see, a few guys also coming back and then a few guys going. So it's going to affect them in the long term. It's going to affect them. But we're going to have to see, how they manage and maintain this play and what impact or what input do they really have in terms of Super Rugby. That's the main thing, What does Australia really feel about the competition, Do they feel that, okay, we really need to watch our own competition here and help it grow, or, just let it be and just let the Wallabies grow and be better. So, for me at the moment, Scoop, I think for them now they had to do that, to fight off the battle of Japanese and the French clubs, and as well as the rugby league teams as well, just to keep the Wallabies, first at the moment.
Fair. Hugh, you wanted to say something, and then Vickers after Griffin.
Yeah, it's a great point that Jade's raised that I hadn't thought about before. If a guy goes to France to play his rugby, then he's in France. You have to fly him back. If he goes to league, he's gone. You can't fly him back. You can't fly someone back from league. So Yes, they may not be in Australia, but at least they're still in rugby union.
Fair. Vickers?
No, it was just to raise the point of, rugby in Australia, I think in terms of sporting pecking order, I think they're probably like fourth or fifth. Because you look at, you got your AFL, that's number one, rugby league number two, cricket number three. Then you probably get your individual sports. So they're quite low down the pecking order in terms of rugby. So yeah, they had to do it at some point because we've been discussing this in terms of how much impact it has on their rugby teams. And I think for me, the most important is that I think they will also need to start finding that balance between rugby league and rugby union, because their most talented players are actually playing league. And if you look at the stadiums, how much the stadiums are filled up for league. I'm not even talking about AFL because AFL that's a different level in its own. But if you look at rugby league itself, their stadiums are full every weekend. Every weekend, their stadiums are full. They've got a super like a solid base of support. So maybe at some point, rugby Australia needs to come sit down and see how they can link the two within. For example, if you get the Reds, don't just have the Reds. Have the, what do you call it, the Roosters. Is it the Roosters in Brisbane? I'm not sure if it's the Roosters. Yeah, you
Broncos.
The Broncos. So you need the Broncos to work with the Reds at the same time, because if you guys have looked at America, what they've done with the NFL. So America is at the moment are working with the Sevens program, with the NFL guys that are in college and all those players that don't make it. Basically, like they are there and about, they're not really cracking it. Those players are starting to move to rugby union. And then within rugby union, they are brought in within the Sevens setup because it's easier to understand, easy to play. And then later on, obviously in their careers, they can then now bounce between the 215s and sevens. So maybe Rugby Australia needs to come up with some ideas and see how they can actually start using the powerful league that they have, rugby league that they have, into the benefit of the rugby union.
Okay. No, fair enough. Fair points, gents. Fair points. Without delaying, moving on to the next one. Bath prop Thomas Dutoy, Jade, is linked to come back to the Sharks, apparently. And, I think the Sharks have lost Mchunu as well to the Stormers. Do you think the Sharks need another tight head? Oh, well, he's a hybrid player, right? You can play loose and tight head at prop. Would this be a boost of any kind for the Sharks, do you think? Thomas Dutoy is probably in his later part of his years as a rugby player. But what are your thoughts on this move as well, regarding Dutoy possibly moving back to the Sharks?
I Scoop, I just want to remind you, let's stop with this hybrid talks when we come to props, please.
He plays both sides.
Yeah, but didn't we grow up with it? Didn't we grow up with guys playing loose head and tight head? You only the and those guys who do the tech win.
100%.
So now everybody, you can play loose head and tight head like he's a hybrid player. Like, come on, please. It's a hybrid player.
Genoeg.
Now, look, I don't know what the situation is, currently with him and Rassie, what the relationship is, But he's had a stellar season for Bath. You can attest to this. He's been one of the top props, in that premiership. So for me, coming back to the Sharks, it's really big talk of him. Whether he's going to play tight head or loose head, I'm not sure. The Ox is there, but then you have Vincent Koch as well. Vincent Koch is not that young at the moment. So I don't know, what the plan is. Maybe just want to get back home. But yeah, for me, I think maybe he feels that he wants to be closer here and then gives him a better opportunity to make, the box 23 for the matchday team. I know that's his biggest challenge at the moment, to be consistently into that 23-man squad or to beat the box squad consistently.
Yeah, no, fair. Wallabies and Waratahs hooker David Porecki has announced his shock retirement from professional rugby union. He's 32 years old, by the way. He's a young hooker who could have been part of the squad as an experienced player into that World Cup. I mean, losing a hooker at this time of the year or so close to the World Cup, and an experienced hooker at that. I don't know how the Australians will replace him, but hopefully there's young talent that's coming through within the Wallabies or Australian rugby. There's a conversation that I came across this past week about the locks, Hugh. Over the past 20 years, we've seen England, oh, actually not even the past 20 years. I think the last time England had a solid lock was during Martin Johnson era. I think post that, they've struggled to find somebody of the same caliber. And looking at Maro Itoje currently as a lock, where would you rank him in the top locks in the past 25 years, from the year 2000 to date? Where would you rank Itoje?
Oh, testing me now, 25 years. I'm only 30, so... Look, when Itoje burst onto the scene, I think 2016 was his first game, and I remember people going, "Oh my God, who is this guy?" So obviously he had an immediate impact, and he's remained pretty much at that level. I think since he made his debut for England, I don't think there's ever been a time where he's been fit and not picked, unless it was a B team they were sending out. He's been first choice ever since his debut. You can say that he's dropped maybe a 5 out of 10 performance. You know, you can trawl through the annals and maybe pick one out somewhere. But certainly in the UK and Ireland, all of the national teams are picking Maro Itoje every day of the week if they could. If you look at the other top nations in the world, would he get into the? I think he gets into the Springboks squad for sure. Is he? You know, he's not taking even shirts. Let's be honest about that. But that's the kind of level we're talking about that you have to be at to be definitely better than him. I think he gets a game for the All Blacks. Obviously, he gets a game for Australia. There's no doubting that. So where do you want to go with this guy? His leadership. You know, he was touted to be England captain ages ago. He was touted to be captain of the Lions ages ago, and he's adopted the kind of captain's armband slower than a lot of people thought he might. But I think he's grown into it now, deserves it now, and you know the number of Lions tests that he's played in a row speaks to that. His fitness is incredible, his leadership is good, and he's got the kind of thing where he knows when to give a penalty away. Do you know what I mean? He knows when he goes, right, I'm going to go off my feet at the ruck because I'd rather give away the 3 than the 5. He knows when to do that. Or he goes, because I've got that much credit in the bank as a player that I don't think the referee is going to yellow card me in this situation. So you can get away with things that other rugby players can't. And that speaks to his credit. You know, that's what he gets from being good. So where he ranks, you know, if you want to pull up two locks, Maro Itoje and someone else, to say who's better, I can have an opinion. What I can say is that since his debut, he's played at the top level and he's not looked anywhere close to losing his shirt at any moment.
Boom. Drops mic. Vickers, what do you think of Itoje? And the question I posed to Griffin regarding where do we rank him amongst the top locks that we've seen before, either for England or anywhere else in the world?
Look, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think, look, if you look at Maro Itoje, as Hugh was speaking about the leadership role in terms of how he's taken so long to be the captain of England, looking at especially he was captain of the England under 20 when they won the World Cup, I think in New Zealand, if I'm not mistaken. But he was the captain in that group, and then immediately after that, I think it was 2015, and then in 2016 he made his debut quite a young age. So, you know, the guy is quality. I haven't seen him have a terrible game, especially wearing the England jersey. I think he's definitely one up there. I mean, we know Martin Johnson was the ultimate lock for England, captain, all of that. I think if Maro Itoje can take the captain jersey now for England, I think it would be exactly the same way top it. he's one of those players that, like you mentioned, when he was mentioning about, like he can cause a penalty and he knows he's got credits in the bank. It's almost like a John Smith with the Springboks. He's a likable guy, and the refs pretty much like him. So he's got that in his side. He's got the credit on his side. So yeah, for me, I think, look, if you guys are talking about the number 4 jersey for England, I think he's fitted quite well, and he's replaced. He's taken that jersey. You could almost put it in the sense where Martin Johnson was the ultimate, and now he's just taken the jersey another notch up.
Fair enough. Jade, your thoughts?
So, yeah, I mean, I've always been a good or huge Itoji fan, you know. I mean, I've always looked at this structure and thought to myself, wouldn't he be just a brilliant blindside flanker? I mean, it's 1.9596. It's not that tall, you know, compared to the locks that we're getting now. It's not over 2 meters, and it's not that an imposing figure, but he's athletic. So for me, I've always thought, you know, wouldn't he be a better blindside and flank, you know, 6 flanker? But then again, look at the work that this guy gets through. He's athletic. He's, you know, I think in terms of his line-up ball, he still gets his line-up. He's his vertical jump, I think if you have to do that in the stats, I think he'll be the highest of all of these blocks, you know, in terms of the elevation he gets off the ground. So he's a freak in terms of that. Where he ranked, all time, I wouldn't put him in the top 5. I think knocking in the top 10 somewhere there, but you know, there is better locks around if you see. But in terms of England, yeah, I'd definitely say, you know, like Vuyo said, I mean, he's been the second best lock, you know, considering what Martin Johnson has done for English rugby. So I think he'll be there and thereabout. But yeah, in terms of Doji, you know, for me, you know, he's been outstanding and consistent. Like you also mentioned, I can't imagine him having a bad game or something. You look back at the first Lions test against South Africa, you know, in 2021-22, and then you look at the World Cup semi-final against New Zealand in 2019. And that's what it's all about, you know. When he turns up, he can be a thorn in any team's side. But I'm not sure, you know, where he ranks, you know, all time. I think maybe top 10, but not top 5. But he's a proper player.
Okay, fair enough. TMO Marius Jonker has been criticized for failing to intervene after Dan Sheehan's disgraceful cheap shot on Tom Liner during the 3rd test. French top 14 abolishing the 20-minute red card and introducing an orange card. Oh, jeez. Yeah, whatever. The French competition's always wanting to, they've got a new focus during this year's top 14. So they want to focus on scrum feeds. I mean, yeah, that's a bit pedantic because I think since Rassi posted that clip about Italy putting in the ball directly towards the 8th man, French competition wants to focus on that. They want to bring in the orange card for this year's competition. It pretty much is like a bunker system, this orange card, right? I don't know how far or how long that'll last regarding moving forward, because I think at international level we're still having the bunker off-field review, whether the card will be changed from yellow to red. And yeah, that's about it, roughly. And then rumors, Hugh, and regarding your Stormers team, Wilco Low, there's rumors that he might be joining the Stormers. How close are we to finding out where Wilco Low will be by the end of before the beginning of this year's URC? Have any idea?
My understanding is it's a done deal. It won't happen this season. He's got a year to run on his Bulls contract. He'll see that out, and then he'll head back down to Cape Town where it all began. Apparently, John Dobson made the trip to Port Elizabeth when the Boks were playing there to seal the deal, and it's happening. And apparently, the Stormers are looking up at Pretoria a fair bit at the moment, and maybe looking at taking a few players, not just in the front.
The roles have been reversed because the Blue Bulls are one of the biggest unions in South Africa that poaches a lot of players from Cape Town. Vickers?
Yeah, I wanted to say, actually, that's 2 props now. Because
Yeah.
Matanzima is also going to the Stormers.
Yes. I
Matanzima's
guess.
I think Matanzima is going to the Sharks or Stormers. So he's
I,
leaving,
th-
and Wilcolo is leaving. Oh, that's rough.
I think Bud Spencer is also retiring soon, or he's trying to look for a replacement for Bud Spencer. I mean, they've also lost who's the loose head, Spicy Plum. They've lost him as well, and then they lost who's that 40-year-old Jade that you were complaining about?
He's coaching the Curry Cup team, and they haven't won a game.
Who
Rob
is that?
Taylor.
What? Eh?
But you know what? They can sign it whoever they want to. They'll still play Ali for Mark next year again. So
Nah,
Dude,
nah.
they could sign the Mighty Williams and Wilco Low and Ox and all of those guys. But Ali Mark will still find a way to get into that team for 1 or 2 or 3 games.
Yeah, look, Jay.
Yeah.
The problem is that you can't teach technique at that age, bro. Ali's learned through the best, and I mean, he is technically, he might not have the size, the body size that ideal player, but ideal prop. But in terms of technical things, he's definitely up there. And I'm busy enjoying Poland beating the Lions, by the way, James.
Yeah, it's happening. It's happening. I'm looking at that score as well. This is crazy. Similar situation with the Bulls yesterday and Pumas. Jade's favorite winger, George Bridge, has signed for Western Force ahead of the 2026 Super Rugby Pacific season. Rumor mill. We've already spoken about that. Former Wales head coach Warren Gatland is set to be unveiled as a new head coach at the Japanese Division 1 side, Urayasu D-Rocks. That's the name. Urayasu D-Rocks is the team that Warren Gatland will be coaching next season in the Japanese rugby. Guys, there's a big thing happening before we jump into the Rugby Championship preview. England have proposed that the next World Rugby Congress, there's going to be voting that's going to take place, and they're looking at changing the eligibility rule, which is rule number 8 in that on the voting. They want to allow under 20 players who played in the World Cup or Six Nations between 2012 and 2017 to represent a new country, even if they were already, quote unquote, captured by the original nation. They're reportedly having interest in 4 South Africans, Henry Liebenberg, who's been playing at Leicester for quite some time now, Andre Esterhuizen, and who's the other guy? Hansie van Rensburg and Jacques Vermeulen. Jacques Vermeulen used to play for Cheetahs, then went to Sharks. Sharks now is gone to Exeter. And possibly Joano Orgastus. I almost said Joano Vermaak. Joano Orgastus is also on their list. I wonder why England wants to have all these South African guys now as part of their team, Vickers.
But it wouldn't make sense with Andre. He's in the squad. He's currently playing for the Boks.
It's gonna take years.
Yeah, and it used to be, Scoop. It used to be 3 years, and then you had to play a season of 7s during the Olympic qualifiers to qualify for that nation, and then obviously now it's changed to 5 years, and you must not play obviously for your country within that 5 years, and you must live in that current country that you want to represent. So it doesn't make sense, man. Come on.
I think Henry Liebenberg for me is the one that stuck out because I've always thought if he really doesn't make the Springbok, probably even just after 2019, he hasn't been part of the setup. I think since when? Was he ever part of the setup before?
No, he was never. But it makes sense like that. It's like Willemse with France. That makes sense.
Yes,
That's no
yes.
problem. That's no problem.
100%.
They can take him because clearly we have enough. but the problem is you're talking about Andre Esterhuizen. I think it's probably also directed towards Tyron Green because also
Tyron, is probably also on their radar.
Definitely is on their radar.
The thing for me is like if it's a case of like this guy's got a Italian grandma, one Italian grandma, and he's played for Italy at under-20s level because he was eligible, but he's lived in England all his life. All the rest of his family's English, and he wants to play for England now. I think you should be able to take that to World Rugby and say, look, let's have a common sense conversation about this here. With someone like Janzi van Rensburg at Bristol, like he's so South African. Like he played for the Boks under-20s. He's from Pretoria. He played in South Africa all of his career up until 2020. He's South African. So you're saying it's not enough that his eligibility. You also want his under-20s caps annulled as well. It's a stretch, guys. It's not. This isn't a case of like a, oh yeah, I see both sides kind of thing. Like this guy is out and out South African.
Yeah. Hugh, sorry, mate. That's the sad part about. I've always said this about European teams. For example, you get those New Zealanders that are playing for Romania, the Tongans that are playing for Romania. Look, for me, some guys now are starting to get into feature into the Spanish teams and the Spanish national team. And
we have one or two New Zealanders as well playing for Netherlands.
And I mean, come on, my passport is South African. My ID says I'm South African. Just because I'm living overseas doesn't mean that my originality, my link to that country. So yes, it's grandparents. It's basically it's my grandparents now, not my dad or my dad. So it's my grandparents or my dad. But if it's my what you call Coco, then it doesn't. It's not part of the generation or something like that. So for me, is that to go and take a South African, a pure Afrikaner who was born and bred in South Africa, their parents were born and bred in South Africa, their grandparents or great were born in South Africa. Just because he's living overseas, now you want that player to go and represent the Netherlands, the English, and all of that. And that still doesn't make sense to me. Because yeah, look,
Steve,
you got
Steve Borthwick is hungry for victory and winning at this point.
I'm looking at a guy like Leighton XT and Scoop. He's a colored guy. He played for the Kings in Super Rugby 2016. Now, this guy is eligible to play for Russia. He's got no blood. Nothing links him to ever playing in Russia until COVID, and he went to move to Russia in 2020. And that's it. And I feel like that's so it's...
But he's been there for 5 years now straight, right?
That's it. That's the only reason. That's the only reason you play for Russia.
Yeah,
I mean... For me, you know, this eligibility debate is going on for a long time. The rules are the rules and everybody does it, apart from South Africa. So I don't really have a problem with what England are doing. I'm kind of like, whatever. It's just that particular one of Janzi van Rensburg at Bristol. I'm like, hang on a second. Like you are pushing these rules to the extreme. If it's a case of five-year residency rule, whatever. It's been there for a long time now. Everybody is, particularly in the North, benefits from it. I'm not passionate about that.
What?
It's the annulling of the under-20s caps. I'm like, well, yes, this is going. You are going a long way to get this guy to change his nationality, basically.
Yeah. I mean, 2012 and to 2027, that's 5-year period. And there was a strong group of players, actually, for the Springboks and England in that era, if I'm not mistaken, between 2012 and 2017. That 5 years, there was a lot of strong junior Springboks playing in those World Cup under-20 games. Women's World Cup.
Sorry, quickly there.
Yep.
I just keep quiet during this whole debate because we might to judge, New Zealand, Samoa, Fiji, Tonga.
Moana Pacifica.
Well, the thing about changing nationalities now with the new rule is that if you qualified for somewhere on residency, but you have a heritage link, let's call it, either grandparents or you were born there, wherever, you can switch. You can't switch just on residency, whereas what England want to do is switch this guy just on residency, which is a slightly different angle.
Yeah, Jade.
No. It's like a residency, I understand, but I mean, it's a similar thing that you can look at New Zealand and Australia at the moment. I mean, how many Fijians and Tongans, get bursaries to go to school there? So they also go the 5 years. They have no heritage in Australia and New Zealand, and they end up playing for New Zealand and Australia after they get the bursary or so. So you can look at that aspect as well. That's where England can counterpunch this whole thing. But I think just as long as they're consistent with everything, I feel, we've been accustomed to this. I mean, it's not that bad. Like when we had in 1995, in 2000, and 1999, where you had Graham Basher playing in the World Cup final for New Zealand in 95, and then in 99, he's playing for Japan in the World Cup as well. So it's not like that anymore, it's a little consistency. But yeah, in terms, you're going to look at all aspects as well. I mean, there's another Australian fullback as well. I think his name was Pini. He played in 95 for Australia, and he played in 99 for Japan as well. So it's not that bad anymore. But I mean, England's argument will always be like, but New Zealand and Australia is doing the same. They've how many guys to give bursaries from Fiji and Samoa to come to school there, and then 5 year time they got their residency. Look at Fabian Holland as well. For New Zealand, he did his 5 years then, and he got a residency in New Zealand. So I mean,
Look, I think, sorry, gents, to tread this a little bit longer. I think it's very simple for me. We always talk about grey areas in sport, and it is costing our sport. For me, it's very simple. I can understand a guy born in that country, like let's say Andrew Mertens, born in Durban. Born in Durban, but parents from New Zealand, and he lived in New Zealand. He's playing for New Zealand. That makes sense. If he didn't play for New Zealand and South Africa wanted him, that makes sense for me. Like, you were born in that country. I had a player in Germany who was born in the army base in Germany, but his parents are British, so he could play for Germany. I can understand that. But if a guy has got no link whatsoever in that country, I still don't understand that. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm sorry.
Last point, promise. England needs to be careful here, because if they bring this rule in, then I promise you will see lots of England under-20s internationals get picked off by Wales, Scotland and Ireland, because it's a small place, guys. And
true,
like, there is not many people who don't have at least one grandparent from one of the other countries around here.
Fair. And not all those junior under-20 England players will make the national team. If they want to play international footy, go to Scotland and Wales, right? Yeah, that makes sense. Hugh, just last one from you regarding Women's World Cup warm-up buzz. What is currently happening? I know it's kicking off in 2 weeks' time. What have you managed to catch up on regarding the Women's World Cup?
Yeah, it's been really interesting. Obviously, the Red Roses from England, by a long way the favourites, not just because it's a home World Cup, but because they are by a long way the best team in the world. They stumped France in France last night, absolutely hammered them. And France are like the fourth best team in the world, and it was humbling. And they put 90 odd to 100 points on Spain the other week. Spain are obviously a lot lower ranked. So they're kind of the big ones. The Canada have been going pretty well. Canada had 2 games against the Boks and then a game against Ireland. I'm trying to remember if they played someone in between. So they're a team to watch. Australia had a loss and then a win against Wales. I think Australia are a team to watch as well. Obviously, the Black Ferns, very good team, should be right up there. Very, very realistic for the Black Ferns to make the final. So they're kind of like the main countries to watch out for. Ireland, women's are on the rise as well. Don't know what to expect from Wales or Scotland. They're in the same pool, so Wales versus Scotland is the big one in the pool stages to see who gets out from there. Trying to think, anybody else around the world? USA women, Alone and Ma. Probably USA, in my opinion. Underperforming. I think they're not progressing as a team. I think they've got issues. So they should win maybe one pool game, but I'm not sure I'm seeing them getting out of their pool. USA, much relatively stronger in women's rugby than in men's. So that's kind of where we are at the moment. it's all about who faces England in the final, really. Will it be Canada or New Zealand? I think Canada have got it in them, but what makes it spicy is that England women have had all the largest amount of investment and professional support out of anybody, and Canada have had one of the least. So if Canada managed to beat England, that is a big upset, and I'm talking an upset on the field and off the field.
Boom. All right. Fantastic. Jade, now moving on to the main conversation. Rugby Championship kicking off next week. We saw Joe Schmidt announce his squad to travel to South Africa. I believe they are on their way right now as we speak and landing in South Africa either this evening or early Monday morning. We saw the squad. We've spoken about the squad that we saw against the British and Irish Lions. We weren't too happy, but he's now gone full throttle. Salakai Lotto in the mix, Tupou in the mix, Skelton in the mix. It looks like a very solid squad that is traveling to South Africa, Jade. And what are the chances for Australia in this 2-match series in South Africa? I think it's Ellis Park and Cape Town, if I'm not mistaken. But I mean, looking at the squad, how strong is it? What are your beliefs, or how do you see them faring against the Springbok team in South Africa?
I mean, we spoke about it last week, and I stated that, we're going to have to look at getting Valentini back at 8. We're going to look at giving Hooper a chance. We've got to look at giving, the Salakai Lotto, we're bringing him in. I mean, if you having Will Skelton is starting, Salakai Lotto from the bench, getting that combination, so you're keeping that tempo, Tupou in. He's got to get the balance right. Look, Australia is much, much better than they were 12 months ago when they got smashed by South Africa. I mean, in 1 week in wet conditions, 1 week in dry conditions, South Africa, they weren't bothered in those 2 states. Australia didn't cause any problems. So they look much better. However, this will also be a test to see actually how good that Lions team was. If South Africa comes out and gives Australia a rating, then you can really say, whoa, was this Lions team that good? But if Australia comes out, maybe sneaks a win or, got South Africa close in both tests, we can really say, okay, you know what, Australia has improved and the Lions team was strong. But Schmidt has picked guys that's in good form and in good nick. Scoop, I mean, you've been crying out for Salakai Lotto to be in the team. I mean, you've also stated there that you want to see take Edmund give a run there as well at 10. Yeah, he had to play his hands a little bit with Noah and Liner being out, so he had to bring Tang Edmund in. But it was interesting to see, what he does. What he does with Sohaili, is he going to feed Sohaili to the Wolves, and let him play 13 against the box, or will he be clever and put him on the wing? What's he going to do? Because for me, I feel that, if Sohaili plays wing, he's playing against Jason and Arendse, I will be used to that kind of, attack shape, big feet, stepping up both feet, changing angles, because, I mean, that's what he's come from, more or less in the league. There's a lot of guys that, has got quick feet in the league, and I mean, he can defend him man on man, because, I mean, that's more of a league defense. However, if you're going to put him at 13, it's really going to be, a real test for him at 13 against this Bok team. But let's see what he does, how he shapes up his squad. He's got better tools now than what he had 18 or 12 months ago, so when he took over the job. They look much better than what they looked the last time they were here with Eddie, where they got blitzed in South Africa. I think they got 50 against them. So let's see how they go. Let's see how they go at scrum time. That's going to be the real test. I mean, slip alle to Bial and Tangela Tupou is not bad scrummages, but they're not really going to bother the box, they're not really going to hurt the box at scrum time. So will they be able to, maintain the box for 80 minutes? That's going to be the big thing. But then again, that team, they have certain areas where they can really be problematic to the box. I mean, you're looking at Tazano, looking at McWright over the ball, very, very good open sides, typical Australian open sides. Looking at, your Tom Wright to the back, good runners. I mean, Jorgensen, not the best winger in the world, but I mean, he's got so much potential. He's still young, so see how he comes on. So yeah, like I said, they got the tools, Scoop. They've got better tools now than they had. I don't know if it's enough. We'll have to see after this first test who he chooses. Is he going to go 6-2? If he goes 6-2, might give him a better chance, because that's what the Boks going to take them on.
Mm.
But yeah, let's see.
Vickers, you're a big Springbok supporter. Jade mentions that the Wallabies were blitzed by the Boks last year, but now seeing this Wallabies team against the Lions 3 series, losing 2-1, and then seeing how meaty the squad looks now that's traveling to South Africa, would you say you are concerned that they might maybe put up a fight this time around, or do you see weaknesses within this Wallaby squad? Talk to me, Vickers.
Look, I'm not saying, I think for me, the most important is look at South Africa playing in Australia years before last year. We've always had tough time playing in Australia. And for the first time last year, we just dominated both test matches with, I think we made, was it 11 changes into the next test?
Yeah.
So meaning that we in terms of South Africa, we had such good depth that we could dominate both test matches. Now, in my mind, I'm like, okay, cool. These guys are coming to South Africa this year. We've got the similar squad. I mean, I don't think we've got any new players coming in from the squad from last year missing. We just got guys from injury back, like Luke Diaga and all of those guys. So for me, I think we're in a better position. Yes, I understand. Test matches are quite important in terms of the high level of test matches. So South Africa hasn't played a high level of test match this year in terms of they played Italy, which was, I mean, I'm not going to call it a high level test match. They played Georgia. They played, played Georgia. So it's for me, it's
Barbarians.
not enough. Yeah, Barbarians. It's not enough quality. Whereas Australia's had a very good quality team that they played against. So going into these test matches, Australia is in a better position in terms of what they've had in practice. But I still believe South Africa's got the dominant side. And I like when we're chatting here, guys, I'm thinking most teams have traveled to South Africa and they know the level of Pretoria and Joburg in terms of how much you blow. You've been off for so many weeks. Why aren't teams going early to Johannesburg or Pretoria like a week before? Can your players make them run massively before the following week where you're playing the game? I still don't understand, because at this point, it's not about money. It shouldn't be about money. It's about winning test matches. And test matches, as Rusty said when he first came in, he said, I can be the nicest guy, I can make all the jokes, but if I don't win any games, no one's going to like me. And look, he's got himself a doctorate because of that. So let's be honest. I don't understand what teams are doing. Like, why would you fly to Scoop? You're going to Joburg today, so you can't train tomorrow. First of all, you're gonna arrive. You can't train tomorrow. You're gonna train maybe Tuesday. And then you're gonna blow on Tuesday. You're gonna blow on Wednesday. You're gonna blow if you train. If you don't train, you're missing out on a blow. But on Thursday, Friday, it's gonna be the same thing. So in that last 20 minutes, it's actually might lose your game, which is what Crusaders did way back. Crusaders used to not go hard in South Africa when they went to the Bulls. They didn't go hard in training, but then in the game, they used to throw the ball around, make sure that there's less set pieces, there's less slow of the game, so that we both, basically, they went toe-to-toe with the South African teams, and that's how they beat them. So I don't understand. I wouldn't understand why you had so much time off and then you decide to fly on a Sunday, but you're playing on Saturday.
Fair. Would you rather have them fly when? Friday last week?
Look, I think Monday last week, because I mean they were off this week. So Monday last week, land on Monday night, because I think because we're 11 hours behind or 9 hours behind, land on Monday night. Relax on Tuesday, Wednesday, Kane, Thursday, Kane, off on Friday, Kane on Saturday. Start your week properly, man, on a Monday.
Fair. Hugh, up to you. Australia, you don't have faith in the Wallabies. You don't see them pulling off an upset in Johannesburg. Australia hasn't beaten the Springboks at Ellis Park since 1963, if I'm not mistaken, or in the 1960s. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the squad? And what do you anticipate happening on Saturday this coming week against the Boks?
That's a long time, isn't it? Look, what data do I have to suggest that the Wallabies are going to win this match? I have none. I have nothing that I can look at and say, this tells me that the Wallabies are going to win. There's nothing I can point to. I think that they can make it uncomfortable. I think I can see it being a stuttering performance from the Springboks. But how good did the Springboks need to be to beat the Wallabies last year? As in, how far from their ceiling, how close to their ceiling did they need to get to beat the Wallabies in Australia last year? How much have Australia improved? And have Australia improved to be level with where the Springboks were last year? And are the Springboks better now than they were last year? These are all the questions you have to ask yourself. And when you line it up, when you write it down, I have nothing that I have seen that suggests to me that the Wallabies are going to beat the Springboks in Johannesburg.
I mean, you're posing good questions. How good are the Springboks this year versus how good the Springboks were last year, Jade? It's a vraag.
I don't know, because they haven't been tested, but they've been in camp for long. So I think they must have worked on so much new things, so many new things. And so I think, in terms of their preparation, in terms of their IP, in terms of the game awareness, in terms of the game, how can I say, the matchbook awareness, I think the theory part of the game, I think in the preparations, they've been on track, and they can be as good as last year. But in terms of the practical, in terms of playing, they haven't really been tested this year. They've been put out of their comfort zone against Italy at times, maybe the second of the first test, and then going down to 14 men in that second test. But they've really been, they've uncomfortably. So for me, Cooper's difficult. We'll have to see on Saturday how the Boks, better than last year, we did a few guys taper off it up, because a few of these guys not also getting younger. I mean, there's a few guys in there that, Dasi might think after the season, maybe it's time, for this guy to phase himself out of the team and getting somebody else in. So it will be that. This will be the season where Rasi makes those decisions. But I don't know. I can't honestly, I can't tell you of the games against Georgia and Italy if they are better than last year. We'll have to wait and see with this rugby championship.
Okay. Big one. Vickers, who starts for the Boks 1 to 23 for you from the top of your head to play against the Wallabies? I think from where I'm sitting, I pretty much have an idea of how the Wallabies will pick or which side they will pick. It will be closer to the side that played in the third test, I think. Maybe bar one or two inclusions like a Lakan Salakai Lotto coming into the mix, and possibly Joe Schmidt going 6-2 as well against the Boks. I don't think the Wallabies team will change much, and maybe a Tane Edmund getting a start or comes off the bench. But I think the Wallabies team, if you look at the third test, they'll want to keep that momentum going forward into this Springbok game, and probably try and manage the game quarter by quarter, because there's no point going into the Highveld and blowing your lungs out, because by the 60th minute, you'll be dead. And then that's when this Boks team will basically thump you and obviously run away with the game. But Vickers, when you look at the Springboks and the amount of changes they've made from test match to test match, Barbarians, different team, Italy, different team, Italy 2, different team, Georgia, different team. But when you're going to this rugby championship now, serious rugby, blow by blow, rumble in the jungle or rumble in the Ellis Park, who starts for you 1 to 23?
Look, I think what I would probably do if I was in a coaching group is probably go with your strongest players, because you go with your strongest players just to see what level they're in, especially that you have to go to New Zealand and play 2 test matches. So I wouldn't go with any person that I don't want to play in New Zealand or I want to send early to New Zealand. So I'll probably pick my best team, which is probably Ox and Chair. I think I'll go Ox, Max, Wilkolo, Eben, Lud, Sia, Peter Steph, Toy, and Jasper Visa forwards. Then probably...
No, is Jasper available
9?
for this game? No, Jasper is not.
It should be, isn't it?
No.
Not?
He's also missing New Zealand as well.
Okay, then it's... I mean, probably... It kind of... I don't see them playing Kwagga, though, starting at 8.
Sia?
No, I don't know. Sia is definitely not. I don't think they would go for Sia there at 8.
Do you think you'll still put Visa then at 8 again?
Yeah, maybe Visa. Maybe
against Australia.
Yeah, why not?
What?
I mean, it's like I said, it's good. Why not? It may be Visa again. And then 9, I think Reina. I have a feeling Reina will go 9. And 10, Mali Lebok, because he wants to run the ball quite a lot. Then the back three is quite easy. It's Cheslin Fassi and Arons, and then centers obviously Damon Jalenda and Creel. So I would see that, and then maybe Bonambi sitting on the bench, 16. 17. Maybe
Vessels.
Maybe Vessels on 17, 18. Maybe Thomas. If my hubby is fit,
he's out.
He's out as well. So yeah,
it's a bit tough.
So maybe.
Jade, who do you have?
For the Boks.
Yeah, who do you have on that bench?
On that bench, I'm going with Vuyo starting team, and I think of it. Okay, I'll just change a few. I'll change a lock. I wouldn't let Lord start. I'd go with either what's this guy's name, Mostert or Nokia at lock. One of them start. But my bench, obviously you'll be looking at Jan-Hendrik Wessels who play. He'll be there, and then Marks or Bongi, whoever starts, the one or the other. I mean, that's how he goes. And then you would have your tight end would be Koch. Lock would be Irgis Neyman. Then you would have Kwagga on the bench and another carrier, another flank on the bench, maybe, a Kriya or Tuka or somebody like that. But it's Tuka.
I think he'll definitely go 6-2 split. I think he'll definitely go 6-2 split.
And then you have Grant Williams and Damian Willems on the bench. I'm not sure. Do you think? I'm not sure. I'm not sure with this one.
I think Damian Willems. I think Damian Willems there on the bench, and Grant Williams. If they go 6-2 split, if they don't, then it will definitely be Pollard.
What if Mani decides to have a Mani day with his boot again, and then something like that? Isn't that in the back of his mind? With Mani Lebok. I mean, it's unfair on him, but. Yeah, I think maybe he'll do something like that, have Willems and he'll go 6-2 against Australia. He'll go 6-2.
Interesting. Hugh, do you agree with the gents?
Yeah, I think so. I think with the Springboks, you have to pick in terms of 2 games. So I think at least one of the games they will go for the kind of the meatier pack, the more experienced pack. I think that they will go with Pollard at 10 for at least one game. Maybe the first game, maybe they'll play it safe game 1 and then freshen it up game 2. That seems to be how they're tending to go. I can see Willie getting a game, even though I think Fassi and probably Willem are probably ahead of him in the pecking order at the moment. I don't think that Giteau and Suali'i are ready for DLN Day and Creel, to be honest. I think that's going to be a very one-sided battle. Other than that, I don't have any strong views. I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe Razzie delays the team announcements, and then if Skelton starts, Arge starts, and if Skelton's on the bench, Arge is on the bench, is my prediction.
Yeah, Hugh, on that, actually, you know what? That's why I mentioned Mani because money would be better suited for Johannesburg, better than his hometown, Cape Town, because I feel Pollard is more because Cape Town in this time of the year it likes to be
Wet and wild.
Yeah, well, just a little bit wet in the afternoons, especially. So maybe that's where Pollard is more needed in Cape Town more than Joburg.
That's fair. That is fair. I can allow it. Okay, Vickers, scoreline.
We spoke about this in the group, so it's 40 points plus, mate.
40
easy.
points plus to the Wallabies, eh?
To the Springboks, of course. To the Springboks.
Griffin?
The Boks are breaking 30 for sure. It's a question of how many the Australians get. I can see them getting 22.
Jade? Springboks, Wallabies haven't beaten Springboks in a very long time. When will that record change? 16th of August.
I think South Africa by between 6 to 10 points. I don't think it's going to be a runaway, like your boy stating. I think South Africa is 6 to 10 points.
I would love
Jade, since you love football, I almost thought you were gonna say not on my watch. How many people have seen? I've never seen Liverpool win a league or Arsenal win a league. So
why is Liverpool in this? Liverpool has nothing to do with this.
This week, let's just leave the football chat here. Let's just leave the football chat here.
All right, the final conversation.
I think by 6 to 8 points. I think 6 to 10. I don't think the Boks is gonna run over Australia like everybody's thinking. I think it's gonna be closer, and I think Australia.
No, but come on, Jade, come on.
I think Australia's gonna be better in Test 2. Test 2 is the one that the Wallabies stand a chance of winning. I think the second test in Cape Town might be, but not in Durban, not in Joburg with the altitude.
Oh.
Okay, Jade, I'm coming to South Africa in December. So you are betting that to be a 6 to 8 points.
6 to 10.
I'm saying that it's never gonna happen. So I'll be waiting for my what's that brandy we have again?
Avanti.
Yeah, I'll be waiting for 2 Avantis to be received, please, my mate, because it's never gonna happen.
Okay, let's do that. Let's do that. And if I'm wrong and I owe you that, then I'll just double it.
Okay. 100%,
okay.
Double or nothing.
Okay, cool. Let's do that.
Fair. Double or nothing. Too much whiskey on the pod today. Before we close things off, Jade, Allblacks squad announced travel to Argentina. They landed yesterday, I think Friday evening or something. They are well settled in Puma land. Guys were having flat whites on Saturday morning and Sunday morning as well. I've been watching what's been happening on Instagram. They love to post a lot of content over there. Vuyo was talking about travel times and traveling early to get a nice, good rest and chill, and also then get accustomed to the conditions quite early. Reza has named his squad. It hasn't changed much from the French squad, but obviously there's a few additional players that have been involved as well and that have been put into the squad. Guy like Simon Parker coming through. We've spoken about this guy as well in the group chat, and we've seen the difference he's made for that Chiefs team. And also, he's been very fortunate this time around of not having any injuries and also lasting a whole season, because he's been previously he's had a lot of injuries. He almost runs like a what's his name again? Squire. Remember Liam Squire for the All Blacks? He has a similar build as well. Good ball carry, good defense, makes good crunching hits. He's not afraid to get stuck in. Very strong runner, and I think he could be influential at test level, depending. I mean, test level is a different competition altogether, and some people, it's tough to make it. And if you don't make it within those first 2 tests, if he does get the opportunity, people won't look at him the same, unfortunately. But luckily, most important thing, Razor does have depth. Even though they don't have the caps, he's trying to build those caps probably in this next 2 years, 18 months. But what do you make of this All Black squad that's traveled to Argentina?
Is all of them there already? I don't think so, because I still saw Lakai played yesterday, and I know Parker played on Friday for North.
Yeah, no, the other guys have left. There's guys that were allowed. There's guys that they said will play NPC this weekend, and then they'll fly Sunday. Yeah, so which means they probably don't start next weekend.
They're not the 23. So your Parkers, your Lakais, and all of those guys are not in 23. So that means that he's going with his full strength team against Argentina for the first test. So he'll have more or less the same team like the second test, maybe, depending if Scott Barrett is fit. Obviously, Satiti, if he's 100% fit, comes in at 8 because Leo Wally's not there. So yeah, it looks like he's going that route. It'll just be interesting to see how he does his bench scoop, because I mean, you can't not choose Perry Tupeloto at the moment with the Rugby's playing. And you can't, how are you going to drop Fabian Holland for what he's done? So if Tupo Vai is going at 6, then you're going to look at, your bench cover, Kamea, Perry Tupeloto from the bench. Because remember against France, they didn't have a lock on the bench, but they had Tupo Vai at 6 that could cover, that could move to lock in the second half. So what's he going to do in terms of that? Then again, Duplessis is there as well. So it will honestly be interesting to see, how he shakes up his bench, because I still don't believe that. I believe that Razor is struggling with his bench. I had this conversation a few weeks ago with you. I mean, Damien McKenzie on paper should be the best impact player in the world. He should be a guy that can come on and change the game. But when has he ever come onto the field from the bench for the All Blacks and made a big change? I can't really remember that. So he's actually one. How's he going to do? Who's going to be his other back on the bench? He's going to be Tavanawa. He's going to be Tupai. He's going to be Leonard Brown. Obviously, you think Rico starts at wing again with Reese. So obviously looking at that. But also, it'd be interesting to see what he does in terms of this backline. I mean, it was last week on the Rivals podcast where Victor Maxwell made an interesting comment, Scoop, and he stated that, and actually want your input on this as well. He stated that this boy, for the first time in years, this All Black backline doesn't really send shivers down his spine, doesn't really scare you. And if you're looking at it, it's looking the truth here. It's not really that player also, look at a few years ago, when you look at All Black backline, you thought, wow, left, right, we had from 11 to 15 was game-changing, match-breaking, game-changing plays. But at the moment, you look at this backline, like, okay, you have your Jordys, you have your Bowdens, you have your Ricos, your Will Jordan is there, but they're not really that, the Safias and Donalds and, though even if you can go back to your McAllisters or your Majors and those guys. So, yeah. I don't know, what's your opinion on that, Scoop? Actually, that's why I kept on the spot in terms of what opinion in terms of
Yeah. I think that's a fair point. Do you want to jump in here, then I answer, or?
I think they need to get Leicester back in ASAP. I think the All Blacks midfield going forward is Geordie at 12 and Leicester at 13.
It sounds like it. I was also going to say Leicester and Richie Mo'unga at 10. Unfortunately, I think they need that acceleration a bit from A10. I know Bowden Barrett is there, but I mean Bowden Barrett is not 2016 Bowden Barrett. Let's be honest at this point.
So let's look ahead. So we're looking Roygaard 9, Mo'unga 10,
yes,
Geordie 12, Leicester
12.
13,
yes,
Jordan 15, and then
Kyron 14.
Who's 14?
Kyron.
That's who I was going to say. Kyron on the wing, and then you got another winger to find.
And the other winger, Caleb Tangatai. You remember he's just injured at the moment. He would have been in the squad. Remember why he had in Super Rugby for the Islanders.
He's quick, eh?
Yeah, so that gives you a little bit of a better backline at the moment than currently what they do.
Jacob Ramatavuki Netkins. That's a player you need to watch out for. But yeah, I think with Richie Mo'unga, to answer that question, Jade, I think he adds a bit more flair to that back line. And I think within the forward pack now, they're starting to find a bit of balance. So with Richie playing behind a very good forward pack, then we can see the Richie from the Crusaders that we've seen over the past decade, for example. And I think he would give that backline a bit more flair, a bit more oomph, and he can really razzle, especially with broken play, that the All Blacks are trying to start asserting themselves a little bit. So once they find a good balance within that forward pack, I think things will start moving in the right direction. Let's see what happens in 2026 end of the year tour, because I think Razor by 2026, that forward pack would be solid. We will know who the starting eight is, and possibly having two starting eights that could play at any given time for this All Black team. Vickers.
I wanted to make a comment on what Jade spoke about, and then ask a question in the group. So, in terms of coaching, the most important is that your players need to have a clear view of what the coach wants from that player, and I think that's what Russ has done very well with the Springbok squad, which is why he can put a player on the bench or include him in the starting lineup and put him off the other day into out of the team, because he has a clear view. And I think that's what Razor needs to start doing with Damien, and explaining to Damien what kind of rugby he wants Damien to play and what kind of way he would like to see him go forward. If he has to be an impact, then he has to be an impact. It's like, for me, if I look at Damon McKenzie, I honestly feel he should be the one leading the bomb squad, if you can call it like that. I mean, it's an adapted word now. He should be the one starting that fight back, or continue fighting forward for the All Blacks from the bench, especially if you've got a guy like Cortez Retima, who's also quick in his breakdown work. So if you get those two working together, almost like building a partnership together, I think it would be definitely a menace, especially in that last 20 minutes for New Zealand.
So,
and then to pose a question.
So to be good game drivers, basically.
Yeah. So to finish off, like we could even call him our finishers of the game, or like something like
impact.
The impact or the second nine of the 18s. The second nine of the 18s. Like, you need to finish the game strong. You've got those two working together in partnership, and they become like your main guys. And even teams will fear them, because they know this guy could start any time. But the coaching group is not letting them start, because they want them to come into that last 20 minutes and just cause havoc. Then my question to the group was, are you guys really serious about Tupovai at 6? Is New Zealand out of number 6 for like that? I'm trying to understand, guys. Are we really honest about Tupovai at 6?
Jade, am I answering?
I think you passed the first test. And I think for New Zealand at the moment, the biggest battle they've had is possession, keeping the ball, having the ball for a longer time. And one of the main areas, that they focus on is winning the battle in the sky, at line-up time, all of that stuff. So for me, to provide as that, he gives them a real option in getting tail ball. That eliminates the rush defense. It's certain set pieces in line-up time. He can move to lock. He's agile. He can play the position. Is he a world-class 6 at the moment? No. Is he a world-class lock at the moment? I would say yes, Scoop. I would say, he's really put his hand up as being a world-class lock at the moment. But
not fair, 100%.
He's passed his first test. He's been in New Zealand's best lock. Let's be honest. New Zealand's best lock. So he's passed his first test against France. Let's see how he goes now. Let's see how he goes on. For me, where against the box, also he'll be okay because of the physical attribute. But as how Razor and how they're going to play, if you're going to play Satiti and you're going to play Audi, both of them like to run those channels out in the trend lines. They like to run over there. So if you can have another 6 like Fina, who also likes to do that, you can have nobody really playing close to the ball, because they know, it's in their DNA to play in that channel and to run those channels. So for me, to provide Satiti and Audi will work perfectly as a combination, because it's a balance. But if Satiti doesn't play and you maybe have, let's say, Shannon Parker or somebody else at 8, then you might need to move to provide to 6 and have more specialist 6 in, because you need to run those tram lines and run those angles. But I think by Satiti Ori, for me at the moment, it's the best balance.
So Jade, what you're telling me is that you guys don't have a jumping 6 in the whole country.
At the moment, we have Parker. Simon Parker's been included. He's been in. But at the moment, last year, they had, who played 6 last year? I mean,
I think it was Dalton. I think it was Dalton, Papa.
Dalton
But last year when they played France, they had Lakai, 6, Ardi, and Sati.
Oh, that's a worst mix, mate. Don't
you
even
understand?
mention
So
it.
there was no real option.
They had short guys basically playing in the back 3.
They're looking
in the back row. Sorry,
they're looking at getting length in there. Finau
James
is another one.
Isn't Jacobson? Couldn't Jacobson play 6?
I think Jacobson's going to get easier. He's going to get up in the morning and he cut his toenails and then tear a hamstring. So that's the problem with Jacobson. There is guys, Wuyo. There is guys. There's been guys that's there. There's Ethan Blackadder. There's Dalton Popoli, Jacobson. But you do know that they're not going to be fit the whole season. So I think, I think Razor's looking at it from this aspect. I think he's looking at it from there. Getting as much ball as he can. Trying to get more set plays as he can, getting more ball position, dominating the lineouts. I think he's looking at it from that aspect. But let's see. It took Peter Stephen started at lock. For the box, and then ideally he was a flank, but then he moved on to flank, and he didn't set the world alight his first few games at flank. Later on, he became arguably, James, we can honestly say that Peter Steph will go down as one of being the greatest blindsides in the history of the game. When he does retire one day. So let's see. I'm not saying Vi is a Peter Steph, but I'm just saying give him time in that 6th position.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, but Jade, also, we have to understand, though, he's never, we used to 7 ball-carrying flankers. He's never like that. And when you talk about rugby and we talk about rugby coaches and fans, the difference is that with rugby coaches, making tackles should be part of why you get into the team. And that is why his stats have always shot up. He's always been recognized as the best number 7 because of his tackling skills, not his ball carrying skills. So for me, that's when I look at New Zealand, for example, I look at the number 7, the number 6 jersey has always been a very influential tackler, very good ball carrier, and obviously, like you mentioned, the line-out option. And in most countries, that's what that jersey is. That we call it a blindside flanker. So when I look at Peter Steph, for me, I know he's not going to be the most dominant in the ball carriers, but we know he's going to chase the field around. He's going to give you an line-out option. And if that's what Razor's going for in copy and paste, then 100%. But my question is, New Zealanders are so proud of their rugby. Is that are they willing to give up that number 6 jersey for that kind of type of player?
I think if we look around the world, how many specialists blind sides are there? I think everybody's either playing a lock or another open side at 6. I think number 8 is going to go in the same way, by the way. I think I'm starting to see teams picking a lock or a 7 at number 8 as well. So I think I don't think it's just a New Zealand thing. I think it's an everybody thing.
Yeah, I think everyone is going for height and size all of a sudden or recently. I think this has been prompted by the powerful size and the pack of the Springbok team. And everyone has just gone, okay, well, if we are to compete, we need that size. You look at the French side, they've also gone size from 1 to 8.
4 locks in the last starting French lineup.
Exactly. And now you look at Steve Bothwick, the team he took to New Zealand. He also went for size and height.
Wasn't Razor playing Scooter at 6?
Who was Scoot? Yeah,
but
in one of the tests, I think so.
Yeah.
If I don't remember, if I remember correctly.
Scoot
But like,
and-
what I'm saying is, everyone is literally going for size and height at this point, and also you look at those line out options because there are so many line outs and points of used as an attacking option. So you really need to win that tail. You need to win those line outs, as it's just as important. You saw how effective Itoje was in this British and Irish tour in those lineouts, right?
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
And the number of lineouts is going up. The lineout is becoming more and more and more important. As the number of phases are going down, the number of lineouts in a game are going up.
Yeah.
And if you look at everybody, very few teams, and this is a trend I expect to change, teams aren't challenging in the air. But I expect they will start to challenge in the air. Height helps with that. And when I say challenge in the air, I mean jumping in the lineout. The maul defense as well. Everyone's prioritizing the maul defense. So that's why more locks.
Jason Ryan.
But guys, we used to have tool number 8. So what you guys are telling me is that we're substituting the number 6s or 7s for number 8s, because we used to have tool number 8s. That was the I remember when I was selecting for the under 18s in South Africa in 2011, the base for number 8 lock for number 8 was the same height as the lock, which was 195 and up. So what you guys are telling me is that we are getting a generation of small number 8s because of the speed and obviously the impact they can get around the field, and we are having to change numbers in terms of your blindside flanker becoming then your taller player instead of having that. Because if you look at the past number 8s, your Lawrence Delalios, your Zenzen Brooks, your even
Kieran Reid.
Kieran Reid, Andrews moved to 8 at some point.
Mark Andrews.
You get your Dwayne Vermeulen who was an 8. So we are basically having a form.
He started off as a 7, no, Dwayne?
Yeah, no, Dwayne was always an 8. He was always
even at Cheetahs.
At Cheetahs was an 8. I remember when I played against him as a Shimla's player, he was playing at 8.
Okay.
So for me, it's like, so we are the landscape is changing, which is why Russ is comfortable having Kwagga as an 8 and Jasper Vies as an 8.
Yeah.
Because we're getting less shorter guys, but quicker and more powerful in the pick up and go. So maybe that's the scheme. Maybe rugby is changing in that way, in that sense.
Also, my prediction is that every player 4 to 8, and maybe even in the midfield, is a Peter Steff or an Adi Surveyor, one of the two.
Also, to add on to Vuyo there, we've seen when you look at England as well, Earl is basically playing 8 for them. We've got a few guys in there as well, open sides playing, pushing them around and stuff like that. But also, we're looking at where we were. Go back 3 or 4 years ago, you had your 8-man roaming for the box kicks. You had like your Dwayne Vermeulens and those guys roaming with the box kicks, being there to contest the ball, for those aerial kicks. Now you don't see that anymore. You don't see that anymore because also if you have 8 roaming there's a lot of traffic in front of you. So the ball goes over you. There's the opportunity for changing lanes of structure and all of that. So now what they're doing now is they're getting the fullback or the flower or the winger standing in that position, getting the kick. They're getting the mosquito space to attack, to run into the ball, or chase the ball. So also, I think that's also played a big role, in terms of number 8. So we're going with a shorter number 8, a more mobile number 8, to run around the park, Australia, for me, I think, with Valentini, they have the most balanced number 8. But if you look in the rest of the world, a lot of them, 8 is getting shorter, which Rio State is actually surprising. For 3 years ago, you had to be 195, 196 to be a international number 8.
Yeah, no, fair. Jeez, guys, we can go on and on and on, but I think we should close it off right now. And hopefully, next week, Sunday, hopefully, Jade, it's closer than 6, or Vickers, it's 40 plus points. But let's see what happens next weekend. Looking forward to the kickoff of Rugby Championship. Saturdays are never going to be the same again. Guys, thank you very much for listening into the Rugby Scoop podcast. We will post this pod in the next hour or so. And yeah, be sure to share, like, and follow the Rugby Scoop, Jade Craig, HG Rugby, and Vuyo Zanga on social media. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks, Jade. Thanks, Hugh. Thanks, Vuyo. See you guys next week, Sunday. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Double or nothing.